Here's a what I believe to be at least a 1959 Mitchell turntable I got today at a flea market for $10. And let's see what model that is. It's a model 1419. If I can get it to focus. There we go. Model 1419. The turntables is here, but it doesn't turn. The motor actually works, but something's not right on the coupling between the two. But again, the motor's here and it does spin. I took the little amplifier out of it. It's a little tube amp, series filament with a 50C5, 35W4, and a 12 AV6. It's got tone and volume, a little output transformer, but real cute little amp. So what I'm going to do here is service this little amp. I've also got the little speaker that came in it, a little Alnico. And again, I think this is a 1959 amplifier. Somewhere along in there maybe. I don't know. This one's got a 5 date code, so this might be a 1955. This cone's in good shape. I think the speaker's in good shape as well. I was getting sound out of the speaker a second ago when I fired it up. But what I'm going to do, I think, is convert this into another little cigar box guitar amp. This thing it came with no tone arm at all. So without an arm, it's pretty useless to me, at least. It's got a kind of a cool box. It's like this reminds me of like a silverware box or something, the kind of crap they put on a silverware box. There you can see I gave $10 for it. The little clasp is kind of cool, and it's got a nice kind of lucite handle, which I think I'll drill off of here and maybe using something. So yeah, I mean, too bad the record player is not going to be serviceable, or at least not by me. So I'll strip it of hardware, and I'll probably strip these off as well. These would be nice breathing hole covers in a new amp. So I'll use those. Probably take these off and use those. So I won't throw away any hardware, anything like that. But yeah, it should be an interesting project. Okay, I've selected a cigar box. I'm going to use this Acid cigar box. These are pretty good boxes. They're made fairly well. They've got finger joints, and they're all solid wood on the top and the sides. On the back, they are a 3-ply plywood, and this is a thinner plywood than any of the other surfaces. So this is a surface we're going to use for our speaker, and that should give it good resonance. As you can actually hear it make a note when you tap it, unlike some of these other surfaces, which even without these stickers are really too thick to make a good resonant surface. So what I've done is use the old baffle from the cabinet, and just drawn everything out on here with a pencil, and we're going to cut this out now. Okay, basically what I've done is I've just gone and serviced the amp. Added a 3-prong power cord coming in. The green wire is grounded. The neutral goes to the switch, and then on the other side of the switch it also gets grounded. The hot wire goes through the filaments. There is an across the line capacitor that was not here originally, but looked like it may have been clipped out, and I went ahead and added. Added in some replacement coupling caps because the old ones were wax caps, and those wax ones go bad. These probably will never go bad. I've got a replacement 5-watt 150 ohm resistor here in series with the filaments. The original one was like, I don't know, like one of those sand resistors, and it was crumbling all over the place. It still had value that looked about right for one of these little lamps, but I couldn't really be sure. So I replaced it with something close to the value of that, but I went ahead and got rid of it since it was crumbling. Cleaned the pots. Also just cleaned up everything a little bit. This thing was grounded in 2 or 3 places, so I stopped all that and brought everything back to more of a common ground, and also grounded in one spot here coming from the line, so there shouldn't be any ground loops or any weird noises and things going on as a result of that, hopefully. And it is pretty quiet when I've tested it so far. Also on the on this side we can get a little closer look. Now it looks to me like somebody this amp may not even be original to the little record player. I don't know, or it could be that they that the speaker was replaced at some point, and the original speaker may have had this installed on the speaker, and they just moved it to the chassis. But you can see here where it has you know, tone and volume and everything written here, and they've just soldered it directly on to this chassis. So this may or may not have originally been soldered on like this from the factory. Of course, these things were pumped out and they were made so cheaply, this could have been factory also. It wouldn't surprise me. But I went ahead and taped up around this because the leads coming out of this thing were looking a bit iffy, and I also added this to this little strip here to retain these wires so they don't pull out so easy. So there's at least, you know, if this gets tugged on by accident, it won't pull out these wires. And this is something that you know, if you're ever messing with these old amps like this is something, if it doesn't have something like this, you should probably do. Of course, you can see here these are probably not the original tubes, because this is a GE and this is an RCA, so it's kind of a mutt set of tubes that are in here. That first one is an RCA as well, and that's a 12AT6, and I'm going to probably change that to a 12AV6. That's going to give me more output. The 12AT has a amplification factor of 70, and the 12AV6 has an amplification factor of 100. So that will definitely be an upgrade. So yeah, here's this little thing out of the cab, or I'm going to say cab, out of the cigar box. Let's go ahead and get everything installed in the cigar box, and we'll check it out and see what it sounds like. I just want to take this opportunity to demonstrate something about power cords and old rubber. This is the power cord that came off of this little amplifier, and it's the original one, I guess, as far as I know. But looking at this thing, you know, I mean, from a distance it looks okay, but once you really start to take a closer look at it, you can actually bend it in half, and the rubber will actually begin to crack on you. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's really tiny crack marks that begin to develop, and if you look far enough down this cord, you can see a lot of cracks have already happened, and it's just dry, brittle. I mean, listen, you can even hear it. Look at that. So you can imagine, see there? You can imagine what that's going to end up doing if enough of that stuff chips off. You're going to end up with bare wires that you're grabbing at. So be very careful on vintage equipment. Old vintage amplifiers. And I think this one, you know, again, is from about what, what I say, about 19, I don't know, 59 maybe, or 60, somewhere in that kind of range. Maybe a little older. But even still, anything from, you know, the late 40s, or really before, but anything, you know, from the 30s on up to maybe, you know, the mid 60s, you really need to pay attention to this stuff. Seems like the, you know, 60s and later, they started to make things, rubber got a little better where it was a little more flexible and didn't do this. But I mean, look at this piece here. I mean, you can actually, I'm just squeezing this, and this stuff probably would have been fairly hard, but now it's just really starting to deteriorate. And I can actually, look at that, I can actually just rip it apart with my fingers. It's so deteriorated. I don't know what's going on chemically with rubber once it gets of a certain age, but you know, it gets really, really unreliable. So make sure you check all your cords, and make sure you don't have any of the splitting and stuff going on. The best, really the best policy is if you have something that's, you know, 30, 40 years old or more, is to go ahead and replace the cable probably. Another thing I really try to do on a project like this is I try to use as many of the original components as I can that came with the unit I'm converting. Just so that, you know, a lot of stuff doesn't end up wasted or in a dumpster. And this is the original grill material that was on the baffle for the speaker. So I'm going to cut a piece of this, and we're just going to use our speaker kind of as a guide, and I'm going to punch some holes in it, and we'll use this as our grill for this new unit as well. Okay, with this thing, I'm hoping I can just sort of bend this material over the speaker edge and get a start. There we go. Yeah. See, basically, I just want to create a start of a point right here where we can snap this thing off. So just try to bend it back and forth a couple times. That should, well, just once is all it took, so that was easy enough. So there's that. Alright, I have my cool handle installed there. And now it's time to install the input jack on the side. So I have my 3/8 drill, and I'm going to drill a hole for the side here. Now the problem with this is it's gonna only just barely poke through, even as is. So on the inside, I may have to come in here with a slightly larger bit and just hollow it out on the inside just slightly, so it'll come forward a little bit. But we'll see how it works out here. Okay, I'm going to have to come in here with a chisel and chisel a little bit more of this material out of here before we can make this work. And this is kind of typical of the sort of thing you have to do when you're messing with these cigar boxes, because sometimes the walls of these can be kind of thick on some of them. they don't really lend themselves easily to electronic components. Okay, so that's good. Looks pretty. There's that on there. Realize it's kind of hard to see some of this. There it is. And all we got to do is wire in the speaker. Well, I sat here and debated with myself about whether or not I should, you know, come in here with a chisel or with a little router on the Dremel tool, or whether I should drill this out. Well, I'll opted to drill it out, and ended up cracking this whole side almost all the way off. So right now we're clamping it back on. So unfortunately, the most excitement probably in this whole project I didn't even get on video. That's just kind of par for the course. But anyway, I'm going to come back in here probably with a little bit of a chisel and just clean this up a little bit after this clamping gets done. We'll drill a couple holes for the breathing holes, and I think we're almost there. Okay, while we're waiting on the glue to dry on that repair, I thought I'd go ahead and disassemble the rest of this turntable. We're going to probably hold on to some of these parts, especially this motor. I'm not going to get rid of the motor for sure. And I may just hold on to this whole table because I think it's working pretty freely and the motor for sure works. So if I get another record player, you know, that all it needs is a turntable, maybe I'll just fix the record player next time. But while we're waiting on that glue to dry, let's go ahead and take these out of here. I want to use these off this cabinet. These are some of the ports for ventilation. So we're going to need those for our new amp. Okay, there's one down. Now let's get the other one out. There we go. There they both are. So I was able to salvage both of those. Okay, I've got the holes drilled for the vent portals, and used a Christmas tree bit for that. So let's see what they look like installed. All right, here's my new little cigar box amplifier, all complete. I've affectionately dubbed it the Robo Amp for obvious reasons. Kind of a cool looking little guy. He's got a face on as well. One point of pride on this is that I didn't use really any new parts, with the exception of maybe a couple of bolts for the speaker. That was about it. I didn't even have to use those as new parts. I just happened to have them already, so I used them. Also the jack. I did use a new jack, but again, I've got so many jacks I could have just as easily grabbed an old one. But yeah, I'm going to add a couple screws down here to keep it shut when you're not servicing the amp. But I think it turned out pretty cool. Really neat little amplifier. I'm glad I ran across that now. It was, you know, $10 at an antique mall. For the record player, so $10 spent there. I think I've got just a few cents in a jack, maybe a few more cents in the screws. Let's see what else. The 12AV I changed from the 12AT, but it was a 12AV to begin with, so I replaced that. Let me see what else. Oh yeah, the cord. The power cord cost me $1 from like Goodwill or somewhere, so All in all, I think I've got about 11 or 12 bucks in this thing. So cool amp, cool project. Now let's see what it sounds like. Okay, here she is, all ready to go. Let's give her a listen. One other thing I wanted to point out before we go, these holes here actually serve multiple functions. Besides serving as the eyes for our little robo guy, they also serve, again, to dissipate heat for the tubes, and they also act as sound ports for the speaker. So very cool. I think I may try to do more things like this in the future if I do more of these sort of tube cigar box builds. But for now, thanks everybody for watching this video. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe. There's a button down here below, and keep up with future videos like this. And glad everybody stuck around to the end. I know sometimes I'm a bit long-winded on these sorts of things, but you know, sometimes when you're proud of your work, you get a little bit long-winded. So, but I hope to see everybody again in the future, and y'all take care.